Even when I'm about to make a score, just harboring a little bit of resentment towards the busting up of the PGA Tour, where they're scrambling trying to find some identifiable commodity, one of whom would be Rory McIlroy. If they could get McIlroy, they get to a kind of semi-Tiger Woods kind of stature in terms of winning. It would certainly be a pleasant transformation for them than trying to sell Scotty Scheffler, who the only time he got anybody excited is when he got arrested. He was dragging that cop around like he was Randy Moss, which was a bullshit thing. I mean, when you really look at it, how does it? I understand that not everybody would recognize Scotty Scheffler, but you're a cop who's assigned to kind of monitor the traffic at the gate going into the golf course, and you're going to go ahead and give this guy a hard time and take him away in handcuffs. Get the fuck out of here. He's leading the tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
He's 2 feet from the gate. You couldn't just wave him in?
The whole thing was
He's hanging onto the car door like he's surfing. That was ridiculous.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
I think the honest thing about that whole Scotty Scheffler incident was that he was in one of those courtesy cars, which are clearly marked, Louis, are they not? Because you're always looking, go, my God, look at the luxury these guys ride around it. It's usually some, upscale vehicle, BMWs, Cadillacs. I don't know that they go to Porsches, but how does a cop not at least look at the vehicle and it says like official courtesy vehicle?
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing.
And think for a second, does he not have a PGA guidebook or something where he can get the thumbnail picture of Scotty Scheffler? Oh, yeah. Okay. It's you. Hey, good luck, Scotty. Can you sign a golf ball for me? You ever get autographs on a golf ball? I had a couple. Kind of useless, aren't they? Autographed golf balls. I think I had a big Jack Nicklaus autographed golf ball at one time. I know I had Paul Azinger on one. And think about that. Azinger was badly compromised by the fact that his name had like 42 letters in it. Not easy to get that with a marker on a golf ball. But that was a weird incident, especially since the car, literally, I mean, it's almost like you see the good Greek moving trucks. You recognize him right away, right? The guy, he's got a smart thing in terms of his marketing. You know right away what the hell it is. You know it's not two men in a truck. You know it's not nice Jewish boy. You know right away as you see that yellow and blue truck coming that it's good Greek. And the courtesy cars are that distinguishable from everything else that's coming towards the golf course that day. I guess, I don't know, if you wanted to sneak in there, could you just get somebody to do the trim on your car and somehow do one of those jobs where they make it look like a courtesy car? Not sure it would be worth going to that kind of extreme, but how the hell he ends up throwing Scotty Scheffler in jail off of that? Pretty strange. All right, good morning, everybody. Good to be with you. A Degenerate Friday. And I was lamenting this earlier this morning, Lubie, on our morning briefing show, Caffeine TV. I believe it's also, speaking of Believe, on the Believe television network, which is BLEAV. We started with those guys a long time ago when we first got canned from the radio station. They were doing audio only at the time. Somehow, in a roundabout way, after we kind of realized we weren't really making any money off the podcast that we were doing on the Believe network at the time, we were doing some kind of interview show, after hours, we called it. And nothing was happening with that. And we got to the point where we were thinking, why are we doing this, Lubie? Why don't we just stick our finger in our ass and sit on it for a couple of hours instead? Be just as useful and, and maybe just as painful after a while. But sure enough, in a roundabout way, the way this business is going, we ended up back on Believe TV. We were talking about, and this is ugly because I do believe this, the degenerate wave that has now taken over the mindset of virtually everybody that watches sports, where you have to bet on everything. I mean, it's incredible, right? Did you see that in the game the other night when McDavid scored? Not the second goal, the first goal. Right after he scored, ESPN flashes up at Bet ESPN. A thing that McDavid is now plus 750 to win the Conn Smythe Trophy. Like as soon as he scores, here comes a number. They just made a new number, and he actually is the favorite to win the Conn Smythe, which is kind of odd, isn't it?
Professor, I forgot the Conn Smythe is a little different because you know how the final
is that for the whole playoffs?
Yes, it's for the whole playoffs.
Okay, well then he's going to win that.
If he does anything else, he'll surpass. I think he's like fourth.
He's already set the record, I think, for points. I think he has.
Is he fourth? I thought Ken was saying he's fourth, and if he gets one,
oh, maybe I don't know.
Third and two, he's second. Like he's within a point of moving up to like second or first.
That makes sense.
What he did back-to-back 4-point games was equal to or surpass Gretzky.
Yeah.
So I didn't even think about that.
That makes sense. It's not for just the finals.
And that's the thing is, even though he didn't do anything for fucking 3 games,
yeah.
and I have the weird feeling that the Panthers will finally bring it back again tonight, where there's only so much he's going to do tonight. It's the whole playoffs. Like he's been fucking a terror, and even in the Stanley Cup Finals, he was great for those 2 games. I remember the Conn Smythe's the like MVP of the playoffs.
Okay, MVP of the playoffs. You would have to say then it was McDavid.
It's him. Yeah, it's not even like.
So why is he plus 750? And that's how they're going to give it to somebody else that's on the Panthers. I mean, overall, I don't think there's any dispute that McDavid was the guy.
Well, because at the time, look, Bobrovsky has been great all playoffs too.
Yeah.
However, he's now had 2 games in a row.
2 douchebag games, as you would say.
And that's what people are going to remember, right? Like McDavid, the last 2 games have been Gretzky-like.
Well, if he rallies them to win Edmonton, then clearly,
yeah. Well, yeah. I think he's going to get it no matter what. I mean, having those 2 games, I treated because the NBA Finals has nothing fucking to do with what you did in round 1. Like
no.
That's, and World Series is usually similar to that. Like we saw
World Series is World Series only.
Win an ALCS MVP because he was amazing in that ALCS, but he didn't do anything the rest of the playoffs. Like
MVP of the Super Bowl has nothing to do with the previous couple of games.
But hockey is different, and it is interesting that they do aggregate what you've done all playoffs. And if that's the case, and yeah,
that's good to know though. If you're making a bet, right? I mean, it's almost like finding out that the horse you bet on has 3 legs. I mean, it's a good piece of information to have in advance of that. I was going to say though that being a degenerate, I mean, you have to be void of all emotion, all sense of human decency, don't you? Because this was kind of a sad, unflattering statement about where I'm at, Lubie, as a human being. I'm not proud of this. Okay. But when I saw that Donald Sutherland had checked out, the first thing that occurred to me was not, a shame, great actor. Now, he was 88 years old. I think if you make it to 88, you're okay. Yeah. I was reading in my man Phil Mushnick's column today. Naturally, you'll find it surprising. He was actually critical of some things that happened in the media. And he was saying that Steve Levy was making the announcement, which the news came out during, I guess, the time they were on the air with one of the Panther Edmonton pregame shows, or at some point during the broadcast where he was on set. The news was coming across about Willie Mays passing. And Mushnick says that Steve Levy says, well, we lost a great one today. Willie Mays gone too soon. And then Mushnick says, wait a minute, the fucking guy was 93 years old. I mean, is that too soon, Lubie? I mean, it's one of those numbers, like we say, you'll take every time, 93. Yes. You make it to 90. I think Jersey Kyle's father, the great Frank Martinez, probably had the best quote about that. And that is, nobody makes it out of their 90s. Nobody.
But isn't he in his 90s and he still like drives and he still like lives a
Yeah.
That's what's funny is I think he's gonna.
He hops in a car and drives to fucking Biloxi to go play blackjack. He's crazy.
He's got to be Jersey's in his 60s. He's got to be in his late 80s to 90s. I mean,
he's 94 years old.
Okay, and he's still like living. So it's funny. He said
still
that
at the track, sending it in like a maniac.
But I think he is going to be the one to disprove that because he's like he hasn't slowed down at all. He's more active than I am.
Well, and maybe that's why he took that position and professes it, and continues to tell people that every time you see him. He says, hey, guess what, DeForest? Nobody makes it out of their 90s. I'm like, Frank, you're going to live to be 110. He could still go out there and play third base for the Red Sox, this guy. He's in the New Jersey Sports Hall of Fame. It's great. But 88's a good number. No, I mean, you'd have to take it. I'd like to go a little further, especially since I'm about to hit 73. That's only like 15 years away. That's not a lot of time, Lubie. Not a lot of time.
I get it.
We've been working together 15 years. It seems like yesterday we just met.
Yep.
Isn't that incredible?
That's nuts.
Wow, how did that happen, Lubie? What a bad piece of luck you ran into. We're going to make it, though, Lubie. Don't worry. We're going to end up wealthy out of all of this stuff. I'm convinced of that. Even if it doesn't happen, I'll go to my grave believing that it's about to happen tomorrow. You got to believe. It's Tug McGraw City. You got to believe. But anyway, so I lose the prop bet that Donald Sutherland will play Greg Popovich in the movie, which I couldn't get a lot of money down on that. It was kind of a shaky event, and I think I was betting with some boiler room in Guam. I'm not sure exactly what the source was, and doubtful I even would have gotten paid, or it might have been very treacherous trying to navigate my way to the paycheck on that. But that's it. It's over, right? I mean, you have, I think the dead ringer situation now would have to be Howie Mandel playing Jason
Yes.
Kidd, no?
They look exactly alike. Yes.
Popovich had morphed into the older Sutherland. And if you look at the two, if we put two pictures up simultaneously, maybe we did a little big board of dead ringers or something. Popovich and Sutherland, I would believe would be dead ringers. So that's off the board. We could still have, and I don't know that Mandel is interested in playing Jason Kidd, but if he did, you wouldn't have to get any kind of makeup treatment whatsoever. And then I'm noticing this tennis player, a young kid, he's only 19, Holger Rune. You're familiar with him because our man Patrick Mouratoglou, who we became friends with during the pandemic. How weird was that? That during the COVID, when there were no sports, so we had like a weekly interview going with Patrick Mouratoglou.
Yeah, I had him like regularly.
What were the odds of that, man?
That was random. He was great. We had a lot of fun talking.
Oh, he's, I mean, I just honored and respected as one of the most influential coaches. Now, he did coach Serena for many years. I'm not sure how much coaching did that take? Well, when you have the greatest talent out there,
I mean, to get her under control.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about help her focus because again, remember, she would get very passionate and fiery, and that actually did not.
She was an asshole, is what you're trying to say.
Help her. She would play worse when she would get like that, and she had a lot of interest off the court.
Right.
So to keep her, one track mind, I'm sure was not easy. So there's got to be
focus it takes. Yes,
there's got to be something to that to keep her winning.
And he's done a great job, and he's had this kid Holger Rune for a while. They split briefly, and now they're back together. And the kid's getting some good results. He's probably, I don't know that he breaks through because he's just a couple of years younger than Alcaraz, who lost yesterday in one of the prelims for Wimbledon on the grass courts. To this guy Draper, an Englishman who's coming on. I mean, maybe he ends up accomplishing what a lot of Englishmen had failed to do. Remember Tim Henman? They had Henman Hill. Did he finally? I think he won a Wimbledon, didn't he? Tim Henman. He came through one year.
No, Andy Murray won a Wimbledon.
Andy Murray.
He's British, so they were giving him like offshoot credit, even though I don't think he's from actual England. I think he's from the UK somewhere, but I don't think he's from England. Henman, I don't think ever won a Wimbledon.
The Englishmen, they'll take a guy and it's like from Wales. They claim Tom Jones. What's new, pussycat? Is their own. I mean, the British, they're not afraid to take credit for shit.
Andy Murray's
nothing to
British. I don't think he's from England.
Yeah, maybe not. I'm not sure. I want to say yes to that, Lubie. I think you're right about that he's actually from some...
Yeah, he's from Scotland, which is a part of the United Kingdom. So that's why, remember, he was the first British Wimbledon, but he's still not English. Henman got... Did he get to a finals? I think he actually did.
I thought Henman won it one year. Did he? I'm not sure.
I think he
Check out Tim Henman and see if he ever did it because he had the weird teeth and he was a good player. And that was at a time where the serve and volley was huge. You do see guys coming to the net now in these grand score tournaments leading up to Wimbledon. Holger Rune, though, he's just a beat behind Yannick Sinner and Alcaraz and some of the really, really good young players. I'm not sure if Ben Shelton is in that category yet, the kid from the University of Florida with the 150-mile-an-hour serve. Real good player. You imagine that he's going to break through, but it's always tough. But Mouratoglou, very, very influential now with Rune and back with him. But he will be played by Leonardo DiCaprio. If you put the two pictures up there, it's DiCaprio, it's Rune. And we lost, unfortunately, the opportunity to see Donald Sutherland play Greg Popovich. And that was really an unfortunate thing that happened yesterday. All right, tonight's tonight, Lubie. What do you think? Everybody, the world has the Panthers in 6. Everybody had them. There's not a single person that I talked to that I've never had anybody tell me Edmonton was going to win this, although we mentioned the David Portnoy bet. I don't know where he stands on that. I'm not sure what $1 million means to David Portnoy at this point, the head of Barstool Sports, who ended up getting just a huge bag of cash for selling the enterprise in the beginning and got it back somehow. And now you see him on PSAs. He's handing out, rewards to veterans and saving dogs. He's doing everything. There's not a single time that you don't see Portnoy pop up on social media. He seems to have kind of cleaned up, and he's more popular for his pizza reviews than he ever was for the sports. and they're extremely influential also, right? The pizza parlor, they see Portnoy coming in there. They're hoping for a 7 and a hook at the least. And if he goes into the category of the eights, high eights, so all of a sudden these guys can't order dough fast enough to accommodate the amount of dough that's coming in through their coffers. So once Portnoy gives them the thumbs up. But we mentioned this a while back, and he's now one of those celebrities that's making huge bets. And we hear about him. And he did have the Oilers, 150 grand on the Oilers to win it all before the Stanley Cup got underway, the tournament. And so he cashes like 1.1 million if the Edmonton wins. Imagine this. Now, what level of hedging would you do? Can you destroy the action by hedging off in these games? Does he cash tonight or go to a game 7? What do you think? Well, I mean, he wouldn't cash. I mean, does his bet go up in smoke or does it go to a game 7?
I'm hoping his bet goes up in smoke. I would presume he would have hedged before this series and just taken the Panthers.
You would have to take some kind of position, yeah.
Because I mean, like
you would want to guarantee a profit at the least.
They were favored, and then they got up 3-0. So, like, why would you want to not get anything out of it? Yeah. Look, the way they finished Game 5 gave me some hope. They did get up 3-0. I know the world's forgotten that, and now Connor McDavid and all that bullshit, but they did get up 3-0. That team is still in there somewhere, and we saw it for about a period and a half in Game 5. So that gave me some solace. They played well on the road, and I know everyone, and I mean everyone, because people keep assuming a Game 7.
It sure seems like it's going to go into a 7th game at this
stage. You don't
stage.
want a Game 7 if you're the Panthers. You didn't want a Game 6, but
you didn't even want a Game 5.
But it is what it is. You're here. They've won on the road to finish off series before. They played maybe their most dominant game so far there in Game 3, and I don't know why they can't do it again tonight. And I sort of feel like everything's I don't know if they got big heads. I don't know how that works when you're in the Stanley Cup Finals and you're a team that's fought every game for 2 years now, or maybe 2 playoff runs now. But it did feel like they looked, and you can say the Oilers turned it on, fine, whatever. It did feel like the Panthers turned it down a notch in Game 4 for sure, and a lot of Game 5. And then it felt like they finally found it again to end Game 5. I'm presuming it is hard to play 4 full games of that level of intensity in a row. They haven't done it. They have shown they can do it for 1 game. And that's sort of what I'm banking on is from beginning to end, they don't give up any fucking stupid-ass shorthanded goals. The power play got better by the end of that game. They were playing.
Would you bet a prop bet on a shorthanded goal after 3 games in a row?
That's fucking point. But I presume they won't have that. And I feel like they win tonight. Like I feel like all this shit has come to this moment. Everyone was believing them then. They were going to get a sweep. It was automatic. They had the Oilers. They were the better team. Mayo and Ken both said that last week. And I was like, I think they're better, but this is not that sport. Like, this isn't basketball or even football where the really better team, as long as health isn't a factor, finds a way to win. Like hockey, that's not always true. Like you can, again, as we've seen, dominate games and then lose that exact game. So to me, to just assume they were going to automatically win in 4 games because they were the better team and the Oilers just didn't have enough. They have Connor McDavid. And in any sport, if you have one guy that can make something happen, it's not over. So I never got that far ahead, but I felt like they may have. Like it felt like
are the Oilers faster than the Panthers? At least in a few spots.
Too. I think Draisaitl and McDavid are like that's the problem with these odd-man rushes. Sometimes the Panthers will have a beat on the puck, and then out of nowhere,
and they blow right by him. I mean, it looks like Luka Doncic on skates, doesn't it? It's crazy. And look, this is the price you pay for this aggression. And we were talking about it earlier this morning on our morning briefing show that it appears, I mean, this is a case where you have a very aggressive offensive team in the Panthers. So with this big forecheck everybody's talking about, and now they're always putting pressure on any opposition's defensive end. But the price that you pay is a mistake. Leads to these odd man rushes. Yes. Either breakaways, 2-on-1s mostly you see, and not so much 3-on-2s. But and the odd man rushes have been the thing that Edmonton's been able to capitalize on because your man Bobrovsky seems particularly vulnerable to any kind of deke. You could yell, "Your mother!"
Yeah, like
And Bobrovsky goes to the ice and has like one skate flailing out there on the
you're not
side.
wrong. The guy made a move, but if the Panthers
That was a great move to score.
it was a
Yeah.
wonderful move. But the Panthers have had odd man rushes too. If you notice the difference between how any of the goalies have handled it the entire playoffs, I don't think they've scored once on any of these. They may have scored once the entire playoffs on these odd man rushes, and they've had plenty of them. The goalies don't fall prey to fuck the move. Who cares what the guy's doing?
They don't flinch. Yeah.
It's like when you're like, your mother. Who cares about the guy saying your mother? I'm here. You can yell till the fucking cows come home. Like, if you watch Skinner when he stays here.
He says, bring it on.
You can do whatever the fuck you want. I'm here. Good luck trying to score in this little ass. Like, Bobrovsky comes out. That's the worst thing you could do. You know what? Now you're giving him the whole fucking, like, the whole goal. And literally, Bobrovsky goes with every move. You don't want to do that. Like, and that's the problem with him is like, he doesn't do it every time, but once every 3 odd man rushes, he like goes with the player, thinking the guy's gonna just do the chintzy little backhand to the skate, and that's the thing he's good at stopping. What he's not good at stopping is the stuff high.
We saw that in earlier rounds. Anything over the shoulder. Hey, Skinner's vulnerable there too.
Well, most
that may
guys
just
are.
be a general goalie trend that we're looking at, but
most guys are.
Anytime they shoot high on Skinner, most of the Panther goals have been over his shoulder.
Yes.
And Bobrovsky, just absolutely a sieve when it comes to that sort of thing.
But
he does get beaten, on those deep moves on the ice. It's happened a couple of times.
And it's like, dude, you don't have to. Just keep most of the time he doesn't do that. But in the last 2 games, he's allowed himself to fall prey to those, and it's just stupid. Yes, you do leave yourself vulnerable. That's why every team probably doesn't do that forecheck stuff, because you have to be good enough to do it. I still would rather them do that and give up the possible goal here and there than not, because they are a much better team when they are controlling the action and they're bringing the action. Compared to when they're just like waiting and hoping and trying to get at, like, that's just not their game. Their game is
they need to stay with what they do well. I'm with you, 1,000%. You'd like to see them come out with that kind of aggression again, and if they lose, they lose, but at least lose being yourself.
Yes.
And he says 2 games ago, we were talking about Bobrovsky going to the Hall of Fame for his performance in the Stanley Cup playoffs, which he was great, but he had been vulnerable at different times. He always has been. I guess all goalies are. Look, you don't expect goalies to stop breakaways as a matter of routine.
No, but
and he's been subjected to a lot of it. I thought actually in Game 4, the differential shows you what little I know about the sport, was that Edmonton was putting a lot of guys in front of Bobrovsky and getting so-called traffic in front of the net. And I thought that was a big difference. Yeah, you didn't see that, but I didn't see a lot of that in Game 5. They somehow just managed to scramble their way to that 3-0 lead, and it looked like the Panthers were dead in the water, and then they bounced back, and you thought, wow, they're probably going to win this game. So if you were just talking about late game resiliency and momentum, the Panthers had all of that and might be able to use that as a springboard to get off to a decent start in Game 6. But certainly interesting tonight, and here we are in the precipice, maybe, of winning our most improbable championship, and that would be to have a Stanley Cup come to South Florida. It's been sad having to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning have so much success in that category.
That's the thing you forget. Like, it's been such a struggle for the Panthers to get through and get their first cup. They go up 3-0, and now it's 3-2, and who the fuck knows? Don't the Lightning have like 3?
Well, it's funny. If the series had gone where the Panthers won the first 2 games at home and then Edmonton hadn't dropped Game 3, and you were sitting there at 3-2, you'd be thinking, great, totally it's exactly what I pictured and envisioned.
Yep.
Which is essentially what everybody was saying. I mean, the people that had the Panthers in 6, look, they had to lose 2 games and clinch the thing in Edmonton. So you're sitting on an exact scenario that you would prescribe and worthy of cashing at 5-1. Panthers in 6. So we'll see if that happens tonight. All right, we got a big board coming up from the professor. Professor's going to join us. He is. I'm amazed at how immersed is he in this Euro soccer betting. Well, we'll find out in just a moment as the professor is about to join us here on the show on a Degenerate Friday. Thank you guys for tuning in. Mike Lubie and I will be back in a moment with the professor and this week's edition on a Degenerate Friday of the Big Board in a moment. Now that. Counterpunching, Lubie. That's what it's all about, counterpunching. It's 8:30.
Here, let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
This has been great because as cold as Jersey Kyle has been with his degenerate stimulus package horses, this man has been on fire with Australian rules football to the point where people are calling him Crocodile as he joins us here on the show. The Crocodile himself, the professor, now 14-8 in documented picks on Australian rules football. Professor, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Defo. In fact, not only am I 14-8 and picking Australian rules football, I am 6-0 in Australia's favorite national game. Is this or is this not a night?
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
Great degenerate story and kind of revealing about the degenerate lifestyle. Welcome back to the show. Mike Lubitz, of course, the professor joining us right now. Frank Miramonte, race caller, Saratoga and Santa Anita, did a great job on that 4-day festival at Saratoga. Brilliant calls, really unbelievable. The way this man not only made his rise in the business, but now has two of the plum jobs that you can have in that genre of broadcasting, I guess you could call it, or announcing. Goes on The Price is Right, Professor. How about this? I'm flipping around, and there's Miramonte on The Price is Right. He wins, guesses the right price of a dishwasher and aces out the other three people. Gets up there on a stage, wins a trip to Hawaii. He doesn't get in the showcase, so he walks away essentially with $10,000 worth of prizes. So he sent me a text yesterday. I said, well, why don't you take me to Hawaii? He said, I already sold that trip. I turned it into 3 times and then turned that into $21,000 with a 3-team parlay.
Oh, shit.
In Major League Baseball. But you have to love the fact he never considered taking his girlfriend to Hawaii on a freebie. He just immediately took like a quarter of what the thing was worth and turned it into 21 dimes with a bet on the Dodgers, the Guardians, and some other team in Major League Baseball. Professor, how are you, my friend?
Not so great, man. It's been a pretty terrible week, right?
What happened?
I don't know, like everything in sports that could be shit for the last week. I mean,
Willie.
Start with last Friday night. FSU gets absolutely screwed by the umpire. And yes, I know Tennessee got like 3 hits in a row after that, but still, like they got
It was a strikeout. I mean, it wasn't.
And that event, like the World Series, losing that first game is rough. That like becomes
impossible.
A big hill to climb.
Yeah.
And then the Panthers get smoked. And then the Celtics win a title. And then Jason Tatum, who, I mean, like, I wasn't a fan of the guy, but like, what the hell is wrong with you? You did like all these imitation celebrations for like an hour after the game. First, you did like the Kobe picture where he's, slumped over the trophy. And then you come out and you do the Steph Curry, like, what they gonna say now thing.
Yeah.
And then you did like a word for word recreation of KG's speech after. Really, the only thing missing in that was him fucking crying into the trophy over Michael Jordan's dead father. Like, and then these sacks of shit have the nerve to come to Miami.
Yes.
To celebrate, and I don't care what you see. That was clearly intended to rub the Heat's nose in it.
They did it at Pat Riley's house.
Any business down here that participated in that, there should be a local boycott. And I'm not even joking. If you participated in those scumbags bringing the trophy down here to taunt the Heat, I hope no locals give you any business for the rest of your existence. Like the Four Seasons Miami.
Yeah.
Not like I was going to go to that shithole anyway. Pay 10 times what it's worth for a dump down on the beach.
A glorified Motel 6.
But like any local shouldn't give anybody who had anything to do with that any business whatsoever.
Yeah, a lot of ugliness.
And then the Panthers lose again. And then to cap it all up, and then we learned, not like there was any doubt, but if anybody had any questions, that Bill Belichick is a disgusting old creep. We find out he's dating his granddaughter, who he met on the team plane because she was a cheerleader, and he helped her do her homework, which really, what a shock that Bill Belichick has an incredibly sickening and perverted love story when the franchise is owned by a goddamn sex offender. Like, really, you couldn't come up with a better story for Sex Offender Airlines than the 70-year-old coach meets his granddaughter as part of the cheerleaders.
Does he carry a picture of Jeffrey Epstein in his wallet, Belichick?
Right,
Did we find that out too?
Sick old fuck are you that you're dating a 2-year-old? Like, again, if there was any doubt that Bill Belichick was,
They probably have a lot in common,
completely
from experience from a middle standpoint.
see, but that's the thing. Like, normally I try to be like.
She likes football.
Normally I don't want to be like, well, just because she's dating an older guy, she's a gold digging whore. But it's Bill Belichick. Like, what else does he bring to the table at this point besides money? Like, he's the most unpleasant. Like, what does after sex talk between? Your vagina was very warm. I had a good game for attacking you.
Is he snorting granulated Viagra? I mean, how's he keeping pace with this?
I like the way your game plan for dealing with my old sack.
With that effervescent personality, though, I would imagine it would be
he's
very attractive to a 24-year-old.
He's a wholly unpleasant person. Like, you can't say there's any other appeal other than he's got money and he's likely to die soon. Like,
I mean, to her, she's probably thinking, "Wow, that's Bill Belichick." Whereas you see a different side of that story.
Show me any.
It's a disgrace. I'm with you, Professor.
Show me any public moment in history where he has displayed any positive trait ever. Like, you can't point to one. Again, wholly unpleasant human being in every facet of life other than being a successful cheating football coach. There's no positives to the man whatsoever. What's he going to do? He's going to tell her stories about when his dad was coaching special teams at Navy in the 60s. My dad.
That's fascinating to this young lady.
Invent the blocking wedge back on kick return for Navy back in 1964. And then we cap it off with yesterday, both Willie Mays and Donald Sutherland check out on the same day, which are like two dudes that everybody loved. Like in an era where you find like near universal criticisms. These are two dudes that pretty much universally beloved by everybody.
Yes.
And I was looking at Donald Sutherland. What an incredible career! The dude debuted in movies at age 35 by playing Hawkeye Pierce in MASH.
Yeah.
Like, that's, I mean,
it's a good spot.
From modern standard, that's remarkable, right?
Yeah.
Like, movie stars these days, you have to be nobody for like 10 years. And like Ryan Gosling, the worst defensive back in the history of fake football on screen. That's how he got his start. Dude comes right out of the box playing Hawkeye Pierce in one of the classic comedies of all time. And then when he's 86 years old, he's playing the president in the Hunger Games. Not that I'm a big Hunger Games guy, but that movie made like $1 billion.
It's huge,
like,
yes.
How you going to hate on Donald Sutherland?
You can. And, I mentioned I lost my prop bet that Sutherland would play Greg Popovich in the movie. So
he would have been good at that too, and did it all the while.
Any kind of physical changes at all. He looks like him exactly.
Did it all the while doing every drug he could stick in his face for like 50 years. Like, mad respect for Donald.
What was that sort of sexual movie he was in with Jane Fonda? What was that movie? That was a big classic also.
Include?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was it. Professor, good on the cinema. All right, so how do we get out of this funk, Professor? Is there a wager we can make? Is there a way out? Is there a Euro game that we can embrace?
Not today. Today's kind of a rough day in the Euros, but I certainly wouldn't mind seeing...
What prompted you to start sending it in on soccer, though? I'm curious. I know we probably have this
other options because I can't stand Major League Baseball at this point. Honestly, because Major League Baseball is wholly unwatchable at this point. Like 19 combined strikeouts and 8 combined pitchers and like
Yes.
5 home runs, 4 of which are solo in a game that finishes 4-2. Like it is unwatchable. Nobody runs.
Gripping
runs,
action.
Singles are like basically everybody is now Pete Incaviglia. Like every lineup has like 6 dudes who's like 35 home runs and 200 strikeouts every season. It's and you know, let's be honest, the Marlins don't help on that front because they're terrible. But overall, like I said this like 2 years ago. I can't watch Major League Baseball anymore. Like
even with a wager on the games.
Defense, running game, situational hitting, stuff like that. It's all like non-existent at this point. And unfortunately, you know, if you've been watching this College World Series, it's actually starting to filter down because you see like every at bat, no matter what this, I can't tell you how many times I've seen like second, third, and no outs turn into no runs because it goes like strikeout, pop up immediately afterwards. I would say, and you certainly would have never thought this when he was a Marlin, but like Dan Uggla has become the prototype modern Major League Baseball player. It's just dudes who go up there and take 3 porn hacks from their heels and hope to run into one. And if they don't, it's just another strikeout. Who cares?
Lou Brock is rolling over in his grave when he sees Kyle Schwarber come up there and bat first for the Phillies. Guy that's going to strike out 300 times during the course of the season, and but pop 50 homers. Not exactly your prototype leadoff hitter, that's for sure.
On the positive side this week, we did have England choked in soccer yesterday, which is always fun.
Yeah.
There's nothing more fun than when the nation of England has expectations for their soccer team, because you can always see the look on the fans' faces like, oh, why are we like this? Like,
distraught.
It's happening again. So, you know, that's always enjoyable. If you've been watching, you know, Kylian Mbappe basically got his nose blasted off his face, which was interesting. I wouldn't necessarily say enjoyable, but again, very easy to root against the French.
Yes.
You know, so the Euro's been fun. It's been interesting. I just don't know if there's any great plays today. I thought Portugal showed a lot of resolve in their first game after getting kind of outplayed. Came back and scored 2 late goals, so we'll see them get tested a little bit more by Turkey tomorrow. And then Belgium trying to get off the floor after their golden generation, who's definitely, you know, in their last hurrah, fell down in the first round, took a bad upset, and then has to play Romania and really needing a win to have any chance to advance within their table. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, we've seen Croatia already, their golden generation, get very, very old very, very quickly, probably due to all the cigarettes and booze. That the main portion of their training program, if you look at their athletes.
Very good. All right. And
do you remember Peja Stojakovic in the NBA, who was like 22 years old and looked like he was 50? And after the game, he was like the last NBA player to sit there with a pack of Marlboro Reds. That's like their entire soccer team.
What do you make of this 7'9" kid that signed with Florida? You know anything about him?
I mean, seems to be what is it, Marfan syndrome case? Like that can't be normal. So, and apparently he was 6'8".
He was like 6'11" in 6th grade or something.
Yeah,
he's older than 6 balls.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I've seen, you know, his footwork, he makes Zach Edey look like Marcus Camby in terms of athleticism. He can't move at all, but he seems like he actually has really good hands. You're watching the catch, and then you're watching like other high school prospects play against him, and it's like me with 8-year-olds out there. Like, the video clip that's getting passed around on Twitter a lot, he's playing against like a 6'7" or a 6'8" kid who's being recruited by a bunch of MAC schools. He's not necessarily a Highline recruit, but he's a Division I recruit, and it's literally like he's playing against a 10-year-old out there. I mean, imagine being Zach Edey, and you walk out there, and this dude's 6 inches taller than you. Like
that would be, you know, an adjustment, no doubt about it.
So, I mean, I don't know. Again, much like Edey, I don't know what his NBA deal is, but I would assume he's going to be fairly dominant in college if Florida can figure out how to. I mean, what are you going to do? You can have
jumping around,
a foot taller than him.
I mean, you shoot a high trajectory shot and it bounces off this guy's head.
Well,
he doesn't even have his hands up.
there's one of the video clips is literally some dude trying to shoot a lamp and then just runs into him because he's standing there.
We had to make that little adjustment and always put a little added degree of difficulty on making any shot.
Right?
Yeah.
You better shoot a teardrop because you don't have any choice.
No, and you better shoot it quickly, like from the top of the key or further out.
Exactly.
But yes,
get
it
in the
goes
way.
with the rest of the theme of this week. The bad news is that like the 7'9" kid who actually looks like he has a little bit of skill is going to freaking Florida.
Goes to the University of Florida. No.
Yeah, it's not. I honestly, I'm a little surprised he's not going to Purdue. If I were that kid, I would be like, okay, well, you look at what Edie was 3 years ago and what he turned into. I would definitely be going to Matt Painter and that coach. I wouldn't be going to Florida.
Makes sense.
Doesn't make any sense. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Interesting. A lot of interesting stuff.
Hopefully, we're going to start tonight. Get off to a better week this week with the Panthers bringing home a cup.
Panthers in 6.
Nice.
Everybody
nice
cashes.
after making Edmonton fans think that they have a chance to just go up there and spit in their face tonight. Would be really fantastic on the home ice of Gretzky, who, for all you know, his wife could be all over the Panthers tonight. So.
I think she's got several prop bets going in the series. I
Right.
would imagine so. Seeing as she was betting 5 dimes on the coin flip in the Super Bowl when they got nailed by that investigation into the Jersey State Troopers betting ring. All right, Professor Big Board, always a highlight of any week here on the Defo Show
We have
with
a
Mike Lubie
special
Lubitz.
one this week because there
beautiful.
was a story last week that everybody sort of scratched their head of. I think I just accidentally screwed that up. Hold on
no.
there. All right, there we go. Hold on. There was a story last week that people got really weird about. And Hulk Hogan gave an interview and said that he felt he was ready to get into politics in the next phase of his career. And everybody's like, Hulk Hogan, he's stupid and blah, blah, blah. I don't get it. But I started thinking about it. And that leads to this week's topic of our big board, which is the big board of why Hulk Hogan is actually Donald Trump's natural successor.
I couldn't think of a more logical connection there.
And
I
I
was
will
thinking
tell
he's
you,
going to be VP.
People don't believe this because, some Trump fans are, this plays into another story, which, speaking of unpleasant human beings, I don't know if you saw this, Defo, but after spending 3 years rehabilitating his image, trying to make people think he was something other than just a roided up asshat, Bryson DeChambeau goes out and wins the U.S. Open.
Yes.
And then immediately celebrates by filling the trophy up with wine, and on the patio of the golf club, chugging wine with Eric Trump.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Your PR people have put so much work into you, and 5 seconds after the tournament's over, you go and do something that's going to piss off half the country.
Yes.
And I'm not even sure if it's not like more than half the country, because Eric, I'm not even sure the Trump fans like him. He's the retarded.
I don't even think Donald likes him.
Yeah, for the ones
in
who
all
are
honesty.
unfamiliar, he's the retarded albino one. And I don't mean that as a criticism. I mean, I legitimately think he's got mental disability issues.
Yes.
And he
It's an
definitely
insult to albinos, too.
Yes, he definitely has pigmentation issues.
Yeah.
And it made me think, like, because 4 years ago, people were like, oh, it's going to be Donald, and then it's going to be Donald Jr., and then it's going to be Eric, and then it's going to be Ivanka. And I think even Republicans have given up at this point. I think even Republicans are like, well, Don's a huge cokehead. It was like literally, yeah, let me give him my speech about how they're screwing my dad. And Eric, again, has his own John Morant-like issues, let's say. And Ivanka's out of the business. So MAGA needs a successor. And I'm going to demonstrate to you with this week's big board about why it's Hulk Hogan.
All right, let's get into
that
it.
Starts to take, and again, you're not going to think there's a lot of natural similarities here, but there are. And let's start with number 5, which is 2 men with hot dog colored skin and blonde silken Chinese hair like that of a Chinese man. I'm just
very
saying,
valid.
I don't know if they use the same tanning machine. I don't know what the deal is with the hair, because Hogan's got that horseshoe hair thing.
Yeah.
Whereas Trump still got I've got one hair that I
the major Kornheiser comb over
50,000 times over. But there's a lot of physical similarities in the overall look. Obviously, one of them is much larger and has spent much more time in the gym. But overall, there's definitely a natural progression because you do not get that particular shade of skin. Looks almost exactly like a hot dog they're pulled out of a vending cart there without putting a lot of work into it. Like that doesn't happen in nature. And let's be honest, neither does the hair. You do not see that combination of thin, silky blonde hair, again, like that of a Chinese man, if there was, blonde Chinese people, the way that both Trump and Hogan are working. So just physically, right off the top, these are two men that have a lot of similarities, even if you don't realize it at face.
Bizarre physical similarities. All right, a very valid opener with number 5.
Number 4, both have a history of having some trouble with sex workers. For those who don't remember, Hulk Hogan, of course, had a sex tape that got released by Gawker. He ended up suing Gawker over it. This was over his affair, which was taped by a radio host named Bubba the Love Sponge.
Yes.
With a woman who was a former exotic dancer who was also Bubba the Love Sponge's wife, which I don't ever want to be close with another dude, that close with another dude where like you're sleeping with his wife and he's video recording it. I don't know what the deal is. Like that's a level of friendship I don't ever want to experience. And of course, Donald Trump has his issues with Stormy Daniels and another, well-known sex worker. So,
yes.
Again, on the personal front, a lot of similarity in the way they have decided to live their lives. And of course, have had several issues with the media over their habits involving sex workers. So once again, sort of running a line head to head, not just in their public, but in their looks, but also in their personal lives. Taste for sex workers that has led them to trouble. Another commonality between Donald Trump and one Hulk Hogan.
After the Love Sponge video of Hulk Hogan with his wife scored more viewings than the Zapruder film, it was hard for Hulk to deny what went on, whereas Donald will go to his grave saying that he never met Stormy Daniels.
I mean, you've been convicted now, so I think it's hard to deny that happened too. I mean, there's not a tape, but what she is,
couldn't be believable even if your tongue was notarized, as the saying goes.
When she went around for 5 years describing your genitals to everybody, like at some point you gotta,
Even Marco Rubio at one point whipped out a picture of Stormy Daniels' depiction of the Trumpster.
That may actually be another slide, so we're gonna leave that part of it out.
Okay, all right. So this is Hulk Hogan. Reasons that he will be the successor. That was number 4. Trouble with sexual workers.
He is the natural successor to the MAGA movement.
Yes.
So number 3, failed business ventures, particularly in the food industry.
Pasta mania.
I don't know if anybody remembers Hulk Hogan's Pasta Mania, but it was Hulk Hogan's all-you-can-eat pasta spot that he opened up in the Mall of America, which very surprisingly was just a massive flop. Who would have thought that could miss?
How can you miss, right? You're feeding people stuff that they can't eat a whole hell of a lot of.
And all-you-can-eat spaghetti
and it's cheap.
joint.
Yeah.
All-you-can-eat spaghetti joint in the world's largest shopping mall,
yes.
named after a man with hot dog skin who's a professional wrestler. who wouldn't go there? Who wouldn't go there?
There's not a lot of entertainment there either. Lubie and I were there.
Say your prayers, take your vitamins, and come eat all you can. Fettuccine Alfredo at the Mall of America, brother.
To tell you the truth, Lubie, and you remember eyeballing the people that were just cruising around the mall that weren't involved with the Super Bowl that year, and they looked like they had been spending a lot of time at Pasta Mania.
and on the flip side, obviously Donald Trump has had more ridiculously failed business ventures than we could possibly name.
Yes.
But I think Trump Steaks is arguably the peak.
Not exactly going to run Omaha out of business.
Yeah, because who doesn't want to buy steaks from a man who famously loves his steak super well done with ketchup?
And eats at McDonald's every day. Pretty crazy.
I want to buy my filet from a guy who eats well done steaks.
All right, so failed business ventures. That's a good one. I forgot about Pasta Mania, and the picture itself tells the story. So, reasons that Hulk Hogan would be a perfect follower in the footsteps of the MAGA movement's Donald Trump. Number 2.
Number 2, a history of exaggerating a little bit. Something they have in common. I don't want to use the word lie or prevaricate or whatever you want to explain this behavior. But let's just say both have a well-known history of, when giving public speeches, being a little less than truthful and shading things towards their own advantage. You got obviously Hulk Hogan on the left,
Yeah.
who spent 20 years in the world wrestling industry lying about how he had the largest arms in the world when he didn't even have the largest arms in the WWE. And Donald Trump on the right, demonstrating that he has very normal size, not in the least bit stubby or small fingers. And telling Marco Rubio, of course, that indicated the very large and masculine size of his genitals during a national debate, because
Yes.
that seemed like a really normal moment.
Well, it would
The
swing the
president-
election. You would think several MAGA voters would certainly be convinced that that was the
The
deciding
president
point.
showing you how large and masculine his hands are, and telling you what that indicated about the size of his genitals, in direct contrast to what one Stormy Daniels was going on, like The View, and describing.
Yes. And the girls on The View were eating that up, man. As was virtually everybody, right? Finding out that this guy who wanted to be Hugh Hefner Jr. Turned out, is, pecker may be a little bit compromised.
Well,
That's
and
what it
again, it's not like we didn't spend the 1980s eating up Hulk Hogan's lies and
Sure.
when he's
Yeah.
talking about, how he was clearly going to defeat the Macho Man. Which, I mean, if you had to pick the two, right? You're picking the Macho Man, the much more athletic dude who's nearly as big and is clearly on just massive amount of cocaine.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
like, how are you going to pick against that guy?
Better off the top rope, too, than Hulk Hogan ever was. The Macho Man Randy
And much
Savage.
more likely to bring a weapon to. Macho Man had no shame about bringing a chair down to smash you over the head, whereas Hulk Hogan wasn't going to do that. And again, we've believed the Hulkster's lies when he's taking a beating and he starts hulking out. He starts, yeah, I like when you hit me over the head with a chair, brother.
Yeah.
That gets me pumped up for the crowd. Yeah, I mean, again, let's just say there are some people in America that the more they lie, the more their audience digs it. And Hulk Hogan and Donald Trump are clearly two of them. Because much like people wanted to believe that Hulk Hogan got fired up about getting smashed over the head with a folding chair, there were probably a certain amount of MAGA who were looking at Donald Trump's hands during that debate and go, oh, yeah, those are some giant hands. I bet he has a huge crank.
You got the Hulkamaniacs, and you've got the January 6th people, the Proud
Right?
Boys. I mean, they all have their big following. Just loyal cult-like followings. That's
Again,
great.
I feel like there's a natural flow, one to the other. And we haven't even picked vice president yet. So
No.
we could very well
I'm thinking that's where you were going, when you
have
first
the
introduced this.
Hulkster as the VP, and then just flowing right into a next administration. Because really, once you've gone to electing Donald Trump, is Hulk Hogan really that much more ridiculous?
No,
I mean, not really. I mean,
No.
on top of it, from
Maybe a safer choice.
a business and economics perspective, Hulk
Yeah.
Hogan hasn't gone bankrupt 6 times.
Nope.
Yeah, he's managed to hang on to his capital somehow. Well, although I think I'm not sure how much money the Love Sponge had left, but I think he lost that lawsuit.
Well, remember, Hogan won that lawsuit.
Hogan won that
for
ended
$4
Gawker.
billion.
Gawker stopped existing after Hogan
Yeah.
actually won.
Yeah.
Haven't heard too much from Bubba the Love Sponge. Did
I
he
think
get
it's
picked up
something
somewhere? Sounds like somebody iHeart would
No, he stopped
hire
existing. He
to
stopped
read
mattering.
news. All right, that's number 2, history of exaggerations, which well documented on both sides. I think that's a great example. Number 1 on the list.
I think number 1 is really obvious, particularly since we're talking about disgusting old creeps this week in the Bill Belichick relationship. And that is, let's say, a less than normal relationship around their daughters and their daughter's sexuality is what I don't want to say that both clearly want to bang their daughter, but if you look at their public statements, seems pretty clear both want to bang their own daughter.
Yeah.
For those who
Not
have
a
forgotten,
particularly flattering characteristic.
Hulk Hogan got himself in a little bit more than a little bit of trouble. Actually got himself kicked out of the WWE when he went on an incredibly racist rant because he was resentful about his daughter dating a black guy. And, not a good black guy, but according to Hulk Hogan, an N-word black guy who doesn't even play ball.
Wow.
And then put up pictures of his own daughter's legs and said, how sexy. And then Donald Trump, of course, as we've seen here a number of times, family photos of your teenage daughter sitting on your lap while you both sit on a statue of two parents fucking. Seems like a totally normal and wholesome picture to take to me.
Yes.
And, go on The View and ask what you and your daughter have in common and say sex.
Yeah.
Go on Howard Stern and talk about your daughter's boobs. Again, these seems like very normal things for fathers to do to me. Not strange at all. I can see why half the country is quick to embrace this.
Yes.
But
certainly
yes,
representative of the characteristics that would be indicative of where America's at right now.
both made a lot of comments about how they'd like to bang their own daughter. So
Yeah.
do with that what you will. But that's where we're at.
Yeah.
In as the 2024 elections roll around. And
Clearly
again,
onto something again, Professor. Clearly
another
onto it.
commonality. I'm just saying, Trump, Hogan, 2024, brother. Say your prayers, eat your vitamins, bang your daughter.
I want
No,
all
I
you
know.
hunkomaniacs out there to vote for me.
Your daughter.
Yeah, that'd be great. Very, very logical. Well thought out, as always, Professor.
It's a total natural. And
Yeah.
again,
What's next? Yep.
because
Probably-
I'm seeing actually a lot of people are reacting, particularly Patriots fans, which again, franchise.
Well, and you're not going to get any of that material.
Sex offenders, so you would expect them to have a reaction. They're like, "Oh, good for Bill Belichick." That's
Yes, exactly.
I think that's awesome. Like, hey, date your granddaughter. Like,
No, it's gross.
sort of where
50
we're at,
years.
like in this country, right? Like, Trump makes a bunch of comments about how attractive he finds his own daughter. Everybody's like, "Oh yeah, that's."
Oh, yeah, that's normal. Yeah. You didn't even bring up Brady and his son on this one. But I doubt you're going to see this same material on the Doug Gottlieb show later on today.
Ah,
Professor, we love you, man. Thanks so much for being with us.
The most important lesson this week, Steve.
Yeah.
Any business in the city of Miami or in Broward County that participated in the Boston Celtics coming down here
Despicable.
celebrating, like, if you go there as a local, you're basically endorsing hatred of the Miami Heat. You're
Yes.
any business that participated that there needs to be a boycott. Uncle Luke on Twitter is with me on this. He's actually following. I'm going to do a list of the places there because I imagine if the Celtics wanted to go to Wingstop, Uncle Luke was like, "Fuck you, like get out of my Wingstop, you Boston trash." So follow Uncle Luke on Twitter
good
to
one.
check up on all the clubs and places they went, and make sure you never ever go there ever again. See, even Thor is fired up about this issue.
There you go. No, when Lubie's dog gets involved, we know that it's a hot topic.
No, this is my
Professor,
dog. Thor,
My dog's not
Thor
Oh, your
in the
dog, okay.
I
background
was asleep. My
doesn't
dog-
Yeah, fuck everybody who's treated the
Yeah,
Celtics
it's
there you
this
go.
week.
Ken
He hates the
screamed
Celtics too,
before.
that dog.
Thor's like he heard Celtics.
Celtics.
They're
Starts
freaking out.
barking. You trained him to bark. All right, Professor. Thanks so much. We'll catch you again next week. Thanks for
You
being
have a
with us.
great
The Professor, ladies and gentlemen. Good luck, I guess. Is luck in order for the Florida Panthers tonight? Do we
Yeah,
need luck?
exactly.
Do we need
Luck-
luck tonight,
Luck's
Lubie?
everything. I mean,
Luck.
You need to not get a power play and then hand the puck over to a one-on-none.
Play your game. How many times is Paul Maurice going to
Be
say this?
aggressive. Just
Play your
play the
game.
way they played the last 30 minutes and they'll be fine. Even if they give up a goal, they've always found a way through these playoffs to win when they play that way. Play that way. Bring the pressure, bring the intensity, play with urgency. Like
Yeah.
you have to play like your season's done because that's how Edmonton's going to play. And if they do that, I think they'll win.
All right, if Game 7 takes place, when we were talking about who beats the drum there, Big Jack, I mean, as we said, not exactly Ginger Baker with the sticks. That was sad. Do you go to Jimmy Johnson? Do you go to Shaq? How about Shaq? I mean, he does have a title here with the Miami Heat, so he's won a Florida championship. Who else? I mean,
You go
and
Wade.
Marino, I mean, would be definitely the guy that you had to bring
You
in.
go
no?
Wade, Marino, or Spoelstra to me. Those are the three
Spoelstra, yeah. Wow,
that have won a
Spoelstra.
lot.
And be a little more animated, huh? I mean, come on.
Well,
Let's
those
go. I
guys
know.
would be great. Everyone was good except for Nicholas. Nicholas had to have someone coaching him.
Oh, wow. Now? Poor Jack. Wow.
Like, he was
How
like-
does he tee it up at Augusta for the celebratory opening drive?
I was like, I don't know why they. To me, it was sad that they had him do that. It just didn't. It didn't make it. It didn't.
Oh, he could barely move his arms. I mean,
right.
you need to whack that thing, man.
Yeah,
That is going out in an arena, for God's sake. You can't just sit there and go boom, tap, tap, boom, tap, tap. I think the drummer in that Cars for Kids commercial, which is one of the reasons I despise that commercial, because the girl's not even coming close to playing what it is that they're representing her as doing. All right, she's not even hitting the fucking drums. Didn't you always hate that? Being a drummer, I guess it always offended me when you would see a lip synced song on one of these early rock and roll shows like Dick Clark or something, and you could clearly see that the drummer wasn't even close, not even close to being on time, and wasn't even hitting anything. Literally, it was like the fake punch that James Caan threw in The Godfather, which to this day, I mean, you couldn't miss that badly and still have it not got cut and reshot. But I mean, it's going to be pretty wild tonight. I think, Lubie. We'll see. But if it gets to a game 7, I'm going with Danny Boy.
Yeah, to me, it's Marino.
I don't care what they have to pay him to pry him loose. I'm giving it to him. No.
Yeah, I mean, he was the first real deal superstar in South Florida. I know the Dolphins had success, but they were known as a team. Like that was
and they should give him a ring if they win the cup, and he does that. Oh, that should be the promise, right?
That's why I'm kind of like Mayo's. That's the thing. Mayo is like saying because he hasn't won, you don't want him. It's the opposite. I think they can rub off on him.
This elevates it to a new level. Yes.
Him to being a winner. Like they're so good. They're so confident. They don't need.
Mayo should have had a finger chopped off for even proliferating that bullshit argument about Marino that he's not a champion. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious. I hope it doesn't get there. A game 7.
You don't think Marino figured that if he had gone to some other team, he probably wins a couple of titles? No.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, when you got to score 53 points to beat Ken O'Brien, for God's sake, that's indicative of the fact that maybe he wasn't getting a whole lot of help. I make no excuses for Marino, but this wasn't a case where he got into championship situations or postseason situations, which he was in, but it wasn't like he was choking or responsible.
No, he would carry average teams.
Yeah,
their front office sucked. The majority of his career, their front office was a disaster.
Yeah. It's kind of like people were all over Barry Bonds not being a great player because he had lousy postseason statistics, but he had only been in like 2 playoffs. And then all of a sudden, after juicing and Victor Conti, but nonetheless, as one of the great postseasons that you've ever seen. So It happens. All right, we got to get out of here. We'll see you from Gulfstream Park, 1:00 today. They're running it to stream again, and we'll be out there for the Mike Mayo Lunchbox Show. And always look forward to being out there because one of the good things about Mayo is he always comes through with those forms.
Yes.
Does he feel pressure to do that, or he just wants them himself, so he figures he better grab the rest of them? Well, he doesn't need as many because
Segretto's up
in Vermont.
So just be you. Needing
okay. All right. Well, that's a little less pressure on Mayo to not look like a schnorrer as he walks out of the room there with like the entire stack of racing forms, guys that legitimately need them, for their job. Like, where is it? All right, we'll see you at 1:00 today. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. For Mike Lubie, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks to the professor. What now?
I said, come on, cats.
Oh, please. Yeah. That might have just jinxed him. I'm going to lay out of that. I don't know why. I'm with you. I sort of, in my heart of heart, believe that it'll be 6 games and that'll be that. And we were all right about it. But somehow, some piece of me is actually looking forward to a game 7.
Yeah, that would lose it.
Yeah, but that's and I don't have a huge rooting interest. I would like to see the Panthers win this just because we've been following this franchise forever, and there have been some good ties to the Panthers. That they've, in general, been a fairly friendly franchise by South Florida standards. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, they were great for a long time. They
were really, really media friendly, and that's how we knew them. And it kind of changed a little bit. But you notice what happened? They got good after they started ignoring everybody. Yeah,
that's why I can't fault them. They started chincing.
When Michael Yormark used to see us outside the arena and say, "Hey, you need 10 for tomorrow here."
So I liked him for that.
It's fucking great.
Probably wasn't great business.
You'd say hello, and he'd reach right into his pocket and give you 2 tickets on the glass, man, to see the best teams in hockey. Now, what you call it's futility, my friend. Got to be the toughest ticket for us to cop, and that would be for a game 7. That would be monumental. All right, we'll see if it happens. And you guys enjoy the weekend, everybody. We'll see you on Monday, the next edition of the program. Thanks for being with us. From Mike Lubie, I'm Jeff DeForest. See you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 9:10.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.